everybody, and welcome to today's live chat. I'm Rebecca here. I hope you're having a wonderful holiday season. As usual, if you missed any portion of today's live chat, I always post the recording on the front page of DocNet under Executive Director Quarterly Chats. Also, there's still plenty of time to get your question in. So if you still want to send that question in, please send it to DLC_question. As most of you know, we have a new face in the hot seat, Mr. Andre Stansel. Let me tell you a little bit about Mr. Stansel. He received a Bachelor of Science degree in Behavioral Science at Regis University in 2002 and a Master's in Criminology at Regis University in 2009. Mr. Stansel began his bureau career as a correctional officer at USP Florence in 1998. He promoted to lieutenant at ADX Florence in 2001, then served as lieutenant at MDC Brooklyn in 2005 and quickly promoted to unit manager in 2006. He was then promoted to senior secure institution manager at Rivers Correctional Institution in 2008. He promoted to associate warden at FCI Milan in 2010 and then served as associate warden at USMCFP Springfield in 2012. He then promoted to warden at FCI Florence in 2014, and in 2016, he was promoted to complex warden of FCC Pollock, Louisiana. While serving as the complex warden of FCC Pollock, Mr. Stansel was appointed as member of the Senior Executive Services by the Attorney General of the United States. In 2017, Mr. Stansel returned to USP Florence as the warden and retired in July of 2009. Later that year, Mr. Stansel became the Deputy Director of Prison Operations at the Colorado Department of Corrections and recently served as the Deputy Executive Director of Prison Operations and is now the Interim Executive Director. That is quite a distinguished career. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome our new Interim Executive Director, Mr. Andre Stansel.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you, Rebecca. And good afternoon to all the staff at the DLC. I want to start off with just saying how honored I am to be able to act in this role right now. There's a lot of great things that's going on in the department right now. And I'm looking forward to being a part of, enhancing and improving upon those things that are already done. When I like Rebecca said, I started with the department when I first got out of the military at Fremont. So I was an officer down in Fremont, Cell House 2. Worked with some old guys, Jesse Medina, Captain Dan Sluter, and Chuck Hawkes was the sergeant, Mike Baumgartner. And those guys, we were like a family. Just like your regular family, we joked around and did things, but it was great. And so when the opportunity came available to me to go over to the feds, it was a tough decision because there were a lot of things that were in play, a lot of variables that I had to consider. But the hardest thing was leaving the sense of family that I felt with the DOC. So once I went through and did my little career that Rebecca talked about in the feds, I really didn't have any visions of doing anything else. I was just going to be, you hear me joke about it, a professional bum. I bought an RV and I was just going to travel and hit the couple of states that I hadn't had the opportunity to hit between military and the feds. But then the opportunity of the Deputy Director of Prison Operations came available, and I just never forgot that feeling that I had when I was part of the DOC family on the first time. So that's the reason I came back, and I've had the opportunity to promote, to the Deputy Executive Director following Travis training, which, there is no replacing for Travis training. You just follow and you try to tread water and maintain the things that he had put in place and try to, build on those. And now the opportunity is here for me to do the interim role. So I'm just excited to be here and looking forward to the opportunity. And I won't go too much into other things. I'll wait and see what the questions bring about. But if we don't, I have some other things I'm going to mention, but if the questions don't bring it out, then I'll be happy to mention it later.
Great, Mr. Stansel. So now with this new interim role, will you be applying for the appointment to the executive director?
Yes, the position closed on the 19th. I did get my application in So now it's just a matter of waiting to see if it's me or if it's anyone else. But here's the thing about it. I mean, if even if I am not the one that the governor's office select, I'm still in the deputy executive role and still, have a lot of opportunity to continue to do great things in the department. But I have applied, and we'll see what happens.
Good luck with that. What is your vision during your interim?
So my vision is to take care of staff. I think we've done a lot of great progress toward, making the department very humane as far as the inmate population. And a lot of those programs are running well. And I don't believe in creating work by fixing things that aren't broken. So we're going to continue to do those. But I'm a big staff person. As you heard, I started as an officer in the state and did 17 months in the state. When I went to the feds, I started over as an officer again. So a lot of the challenges that we're facing now, I didn't face them at the level that we're facing now as far as staffing, because we're at a historical point as far as staffing shortages. But I do know what it's like to walk a tier. I do know what it's like to expect to get off at a certain time and not being able to get off. And for me, I've seen that in two different departments, and that's one thing I want to point out. What we're going through, we're not alone. I have a lot of friends that are still in the feds, and their positions range from officer all the way to high up in the executive staff, and we all talk about the changes that we've seen in the field of corrections and how difficult it is to bring staff in now. So we're all searching for the answer. But the one thing I want to say is the answer doesn't necessarily lie with me or any of the faces that you see on these cameras. The answers lie with everyone in this department. I have a huge belief that everyone has a voice. Every single staff member, from the newest staff member in the CTA to the most senior staff member just turning their retirement paperwork, everyone has a voice. And it's up to you when you use your voice. You can either use it and be proactive and help try to resolve a lot of the issues that we have, or you can be reactive and be one of those people that want to talk about things after the fact. I knew we shouldn't have done this, or I saw that coming. Or if you see something coming, say something. So I'm encouraging everyone, if you have ideas, if you have things that you think that we haven't thought of, by all means, get that out. You can send it to my email box. Everyone knows my email address. If you're in HQ, you can slide it under my door like the whole inmate way of communicating. However you want to get that information to me, feel free to do it. And it's not just me, it's anyone on the exec team, because there's a misconception out there that we want or we're okay with where we are. We're not. None of us sleep well with things going the way they are right now. And there's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes that don't always get talked about, and staff don't always know we're doing. But that's not because we're not doing it. So one of my commitments in the interim, and as well if I get fortunate enough to move on, is to be transparent. I know one of the questions that's coming up is talks about this, but I'm gonna go ahead and jump. So you might be able to scratch that question, Rebecca. But I believe in making sure we're connected to what's going on in the field. There's this thing that I'm starting. It's called Field Fridays, and where I get out and I hit a facility and I talk to staff, and I want to hear what you have to say, So there again, it goes back to having a voice. Here's an opportunity for you to get your message directly to the executive director as I'm walking around. I'm not going to force anybody to talk, but I definitely encourage you to use your voice. There's some concerns of retaliation and fear and all that kind of stuff. As you'll see with me, whether it's in the interim period or whether I'm the ED or whether I'm the DED, it's not always about pointing fingers and assigning blame. It's about resolving issues and moving forward. And sometimes, sometimes people need to be held accountable and sometimes they don't. But when you're talking to me, you're talking to me. And unless you're telling me something that's life-threatening or something that I need to address immediately, I'm not going to run back and tell your wardens or your supervisors, this person said this, this, and this. I'm just going to take the focus of what the topic was and see if there's things that we can do to fix that. And I know I rambled on, so I apologize.
Sounds like you're going to be spending a lot of time in the facilities.
That's the plan. It's not just the facilities. I visited the parole office, the Colorado Springs parole office yesterday. My goal is if I'm there and I have time and I'm in the area, I'm just going to stop in. That makes a lot of people nervous, but it's not there again. It's not a I got you moment. It's just an opportunity for staff to exercise their right to use their voice.
For sure. Let's get into a couple of other questions. We have some case manager questions. Can you tell me if the pay scale is going to be fixed when it comes to case managers? As of now, they're being demoted to sergeant pay come July 2023, and a lot of case managers are not happy. They worked hard for their titles and don't understand why that is getting taken from them.
Yeah, and I understand. Someone sent me a very similar thing in an email, and I told them I was going to look into it and get back with them, and that's exactly what I'm doing. But what I want to do is I want to have Rick kind of speak broadly about the topic for now.
Thank you, Andre. So first and foremost, the proposal that of the restructuring of the pay bands, that is a project that is currently being taking place at the Department of Personnel and Administration. So keeping in mind that statutorily, the only person who has the authority to oversee pay structures of state employees is the state personnel director. So with that being said, that process is still a work in process. It is not final. It is still in the process of being examined and researched. And so there are still changes that will be made to the pay structure. So again, keep in mind that it's not finalized and it has not been approved.
So I'm going to add one thing to that, Rebecca. You know, part of the comment was they don't feel important. Every position, every staff member in this department is important. I know, like I said, we're going through challenges, we're going through pay challenges, we're going through staffing challenges. We've done a lot of modifying and work on the humanity in the department. And I know with everything going on, it's easy to feel like you know you're not important, or you don't feel like we see or we feel your pain. I can tell you, I've experienced that. I've been an officer. I've been walking the tier. I've been on, we call it morning watch, we call it graveyard shift here. I've had opportunities where on Christmas Day, I've gotten mandatory to work a double shift because the next person didn't come in. So I understand all those things. So I don't want anyone to not feel like they're important or that they're an important piece to this mission, because everyone is, and every decision that we make is going to be focused on the best thing for the department. It's not about me. It's not about any of the faces that you see on this screen. It's not about any of the wardens. It's not about any of that. It's about making decisions for what's best for the department. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, you may not agree with every decision that I make. Because I don't agree with every decision that my boss makes. But at the end of the day, what I want you to take from it is that it's the decision that we're making the best decision we can based upon the information we have and what's best for the department. Now, there's gonna be times where we're gonna sit and we're gonna staff things in our exec meetings, and we're gonna think that we have the best solution, and then when we roll it out to where the rubber meets the road, it may not be the best solution. You got to tell us. You got to tell us, because sometimes we've looked at all the different angles and we still miss things. So one of the things that I'm trying to do I've asked to be done, and I know they are working on it, to kind of alleviate some of that is, we have inmate councils in facilities where the incarcerated individuals get to give their input. Well, I want to have staff councils to give that same kind of input. So I know the facility leadership, they're working on that right now. And it's one of those things where, this is another opportunity for you to use your voice. my belief is the more information I can get to you, the more opportunities I give you to use your voice. There is no excuse for not using your voice. So.
Well said, Mr. Stanzel. Let's, was someone else going to say something? Sorry, I think we might be having some technical difficulties as well, but let's go on to case managers again. Will they stop working? When will they stop working a post? It's going on 3 years now, and their jobs have suffered as well. No one else can do what case managers do, and it's starting to appear that no one realizes the amount of duties they are responsible for.
Well, I wouldn't say we don't realize it, and I wouldn't say that there again, it's not a lack of appreciation for case management. It's these things are being done out of necessity. No one is sitting here wanting to put someone in a role that they're not prepared for, or in a role that they, weren't hired for. But, at the end of the day, managing prisons, there's a common theme that is in every prison system, whether it's federal, state, and that's supervising the incarcerated population that we have. And that is the primary mission of all of us. Now, we all have separate jobs that we do to help with the daily operating of a facility, and case management is one of those very important roles. But if we're not managing and supervising the inmate population, that's our number one mission. Now, do I want this having people work in other positions to be a long-term thing? Absolutely not. That's why you hear us and you see us doing all these incentive bonuses and these retention bonuses. Was that a perfect plan? Absolutely not. It wasn't a perfect plan, but it was a plan that there was a lot of thought went into that plan, and we had X amount of dollars, and we needed to do something with those X amount of dollars. And there were several options on the table. We could have tried to divide up those X amount of dollars evenly amongst everybody in the department, and it would have probably come to about a check for about $25, which who would have been happy with that? So we made decisions based upon the information we had, the resources we had at that time, and the need that we saw at that time. Now, I will tell you this, we are back at the table again, looking at other things, and looking at other ways to continue to show staff we appreciate them, and to continue to address the hiring, the incentive to get people to come to the DOC, as well as the incentive to keep people here, because it's a delicate balance you have to fight too. There's I've heard comments that, we should have given more to retain, or we should have given more to incentivize. There's pros and cons to both of those arguments. But like I said, we at that time made the best decision we could with the resources and the knowledge that we had. Is there anybody else who wants to speak on that? All right.
Thanks. This, just to be clear, the department is not planning on weeding out case management. Is that correct? It just seems like there's been a lot of extra jobs created, taking duties away from case management. So you're not weaning out case managers, correct?
That's correct. There's been no discussions about getting rid of case management. Yeah, that's not even on the table, and not something that's even in the back of my mind right now, or ever.
Rick, this might go to you. We'll see what Mr. Stansel says, but in previous CMI announcements, the DOC starting pay was $52.47, and it's now changed to $45.34 on the applications. The salary update note is no longer on the applications. Can you please clarify the department planning on changing this, or can you speak to that?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the first part of that question?
Of course. The previous CMI announcements, the DOC starting pay was listed as $52.47 and has now been changed to reflect $45.34 on the applications.
So I'm sorry. So the abbreviation CMI, what?
I believe it means case manager.
Oh, okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's case manager.
So the old announcement, it was 50.
According to this question, it was $52.47 and has now been changed to $45.34 on the applications.
on the announcement. So, yeah, so we're hang on, let us check that, because we always have to put the salary range on there. And so the 45 must be the minimum. Brenda, did you check that?
I'm checking it right now.
Okay,
Okay,
let's
so
go on to, you want to go on to a different question while she looks at that, Rick?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, sounds good. We'll give you a few minutes, Brenda. Thank you for looking that up for us. Mr. Stansel, what's the status on the cell phone policy? Is that still happening?
No, that cell phone policy would not move forward.
Thank you.
I
What
can't
kind of,
remember, but the answer is going to be no.
okay, you got it. What kind of out-of-state or social media advertising is the DOC doing to fill the vacant positions?
So I'll speak briefly, then I'm going to pass it over to Brenda. We are doing a lot, and I won't steal Brenda's thunder, but I can tell you the development of the talent acquisition team and all of the recruitment plans that we have. I'm very happy with it, but there again, I'm going to keep driving back to the responsibility for all of us to pitch in and help. If you have other ideas, please get them to us. But Brenda, can you kind of tell what we're doing now?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Stansel. The Office of Human Resources has partnered with the media firm to produce a multimedia campaign that targets audiences both in and out of state, and it's based on their internet behaviors. These platforms include TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. As of last Friday, our impressions on Facebook have topped 1.8 million and over 275,000 on TikTok. With a heightened awareness of our hardest to fill positions, the highest performing ads have focused on our hardest to fill positions, which are our correctional officer series, food services, clinical vacancies, and other positions. In order to maintain authenticity and celebrate the wonderful staff that calls DOC their professional home, the creative assets utilized showcase team members from across the state, covering a spectrum of job classifications and facilities. Thank you.
Thanks, Brenda. Mr. Stansel, why does it feel as though we're forgetting about senior staff? What about the perks to keep senior staff from getting and continuing to walk out the door? With such low numbers in every facility, why isn't it mandated to go 12-hour shifts across the board, at least temporarily? The facilities that are currently doing it seem much happier and well-rested. The amount of overtime that staff have been getting is only causing more call-offs, reassignments, and low morale. Some facilities continue to tell their staff.
Well, that's a very good question. So one of the things that we did with so first of all, let me say, I do support and appreciate, and it's not just me, the entire team supports and appreciates senior staff. I mean, that's why we didn't focus on straight single incentive hiring bonuses. That's why we struggled in meetings to talk about how do we balance it, because we do recognize the importance of the senior staff. You know, I understand and we all appreciate what you bring, the value you bring to the department, the knowledge that you have, your ability to train new staff and just to make the department a safer place. Because ultimately your experience, you can't really put a price on it. But when you have a limited amount of funds and you have, you know, the feds that are offering crazy hiring bonuses, Nebraska's are offering crazy hiring bonuses. You know, if you only focus on the retention piece, then the overtime situation will never change. Because if you keep playing with the same number of chips and you never increase those chips, then your value in that your chip wallet is never going to change. So you have to look at it both ways. You have to look at how do we show the senior staff that we appreciate them and we want to retain them and we want to keep them around. But at the same time, you have to bring in new resources to help alleviate the overtime crisis and the staffing challenges that we have now. So that's the $1 million question. That's the $1 million question that every single corrections department, whether it's federal, state, or local, that is the question that we're all trying to get an answer to. But there again, this must sound like a broken record. If you have suggestions, if you have ideas, I implore you to get them to us. Because we will be the first to admit that we don't have all the answers. Because if we did, we would have solved the problem a long time ago. Or if some other state or some other federal agency had figured it out, we would just steal their idea and apply it to the DOC. But no one's figured that out. So please provide us your input, provide us your suggestions, provide us your ideas, and just understand not all of them we're going to be able to do. But if there are good ones in there that we can improve upon what we're already doing, then we all will feel better accepting that idea and bringing staff on board, because that is the one thing that keeps all of us up at night, is our staffing issue.
Well said. Mr. Stansel, many of us listened to the video presentation last week that you and the executive team made at the JBC. Is there a time frame when we'll hear back on the decision to fund the salary increases?
So before I kick this over to Ashley to address timeframes, I just want to talk about the tremendous job that the team did when they were preparing for that JBC. Our focus was to highlight there again the staffing shortages and the need for fixing that. And the best way to fix that, one of the main ways to fix it, is through the budget process and getting us more money. But I'll allow Ashley to go ahead and talk about timeframes.
Hi, Ashley. You might be on mute.
Shouldn't be on mute. Can you hear me now?
Thank you. You're good.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Stansel. Unfortunately, government moves a bit slowly. So the Joint Budget Committee, or JBC, will be hearing our decision items and making final decisions in March. And then what we have to have is the entire legislature approve what's called the long bill, which is all the appropriations for all the departments. And that usually happens around the first or second week of May. So we should have our final decisions around the first or second week of May.
Thank you. This question just came in. How is it that COs are being hired at $400 more a month than community parole officers? COs are getting a hiring bonus also.
I wasn't aware of that. That's something I will look at. But Rick, Brenda, Meredith, anybody want to come in on that one?
I can give you what we hire. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to go ahead, Brenda?
Go ahead, Meredith.
I was going to say, I just double checked with our SRC. So we're currently bringing CPOs, new hires in at 5,023. And we are bringing our release case managers in at 5257 as new hires. I do not have the CO amount. And so I don't know if somebody from HR can provide that.
Thanks. Brenda's working feverishly over there.
I'm getting the exact salary for correctional officers, but I can answer the case manager salary question that came previously in.
Okay.
The minimum or the salary range for a case manager is $49.99 through $74.33, and our starting salary for those classifications and those employees in the classifications is $52.57. So we're communicating the full salary range, but we bring them in at $52.57.
Thanks for
And
clarifying.
then, for sure. And then the correctional officer starting salary is $42.41.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. The next question, if you do not keep knowledgeable staff with a 2-week academy, how do you expect new staff to work safely? That experience we are losing, the department is critical to us to being successful and safe. Will captains soon be listed as non-exempt?
Okay, I'll take a piece of it, and then I'm going to get to Rick or Brenda for the non-exempt captain piece. So I was intimately involved with the CTA and in the new format, and I can tell you that again, that was no easy decision. because so what you have to balance is we'll never trade quality for time, never. So what we did was we looked at the older schedule for the CTA, and we were looking to see what are the classes that are necessary for the staff to get to the point where they can get to the facilities and get that focused training on their facility. So one of the things that I asked, because I had a meeting with all of the training coordinators, and one of the things that I asked was, in the room, how many have been there? I started with 1 year. I started with more than 20, and I worked all the way down to, less than 5. And then I asked all of them, of the classes that you remember from the time that you went, some more than 20 years ago, look at the schedule now. And a lot of them saw, and a lot of them, confirmed that we're still teaching the exact same classes we were 25 years ago. Anyone in the corrections field know that things have changed dramatically from 25 years ago to now. So with that being the case, why would we continue to teach the same things that we were teaching 25 years ago, but the way we run prisons now is different? So when we started looking at that, we went through and we cut out a lot of the classes that we were just teaching just to be teaching. Now, part of that plan was to try to get the people in the academy, get them those necessary classes, and then get them to their institutions where they can have an impact on helping reduce the overtime issue, but also getting them to their facility where, they're getting that detailed, dedicated training that is more on board for them at their facility. There's some things that you're going to learn that we felt that they will learn that is universal no matter what facility you go to. But we all know that BV runs different than Fremont, and Fremont runs different than Ark Valley, and Ark Valley runs different than Sterling. So keeping them in the academy for a long period of time, trying to teach them very generalized things that we want them to apply generally across the board. At that particular time, we saw it as it would be better to get them in their facilities, get them in the rotation, get them learning from their senior staff, get them learning the way of their particular institution. Now, there again, did we get it right? I don't know. Give me feedback and let me know if you don't think it, because this is one of the questions that I ask staff, and I've heard arguments for both sides. I've heard arguments that, the 2-week thing is good because it gets them in, gets them out here. Our senior staff have a chance to take them under our wings and show them, how we personalize what they learned in the CTA to what we do at our facilities. I've heard the other side of it where, it's not long enough. There again, it's finding that delicate balance. And the best way to find that balance is to have people give feedback and give us the information so we can assess what do we think is the best value. So, Rick, Brenda, do you want to touch on the captain position?
Yeah, thanks. So the whole issue around classes and jobs that are either exempt or non-exempt as far as overtime, that falls under the Fair Labor Standards Act. So it's not just a quick decision of these are the jobs we're going to pay overtime and these are the jobs that we're not. There's a process that we have to go through because when we go through this process, we have to notify the U.S. Department of Labor, which gets into a whole lot of other issues. So is it something that we haven't explored and looked at? It is something that we are constantly looking at because jobs change, because the exemption statuses and rules around what jobs are exempt and what jobs are not exempt. And so I will just say that this is an area that we're constantly looking at and exploring. And when we find that we have a question or concern, then we'll move forward with it. So again, we are looking at it, but I can't give a definite answer of, this is going to happen, or no, we're not going to do it. It's something that we're researching and looking at.
Thanks, Rick. Are the potential raises going to be based on state time or time in position?
I think this is referring to the partnership agreement. Is that correct? So if it's referring to the partnership agreement, the steps are going to be based on time, time and position, or it's actually called time and job series. So it's a little more encompassing than time and position. That said, the 5% across the board is for all employees. So regardless of time and position.
Thank you. Will DOC headquarters and HR staff continue to work from home full or part-time and for the foreseeable future? And has there been any, or will there be any, look into how working from home has affected negatively or positively in the department's productivity and retention?
So that is something we're currently looking at. How effective is the working from home? What is what's the right balance? Is it 3 days a week in the office? Is it 2 days a week in the office? Is it total remote? We are assessing that. So I can't give a definitive yes. I can't give a definitive no. But what I can tell you, it is something that I'm looking at. Because there again, I think we have to do what's best for the department, and finding what's best for the department. I don't want to make a knee-jerk decision and just start yanking people back in the office. But I need time to assess, is it working or is it not working? But please provide your feedback, because that would definitely be taken into consideration as we're reviewing everything.
Thanks, Mr. Stansel. Let's jump completely to a different topic. The holidays are coming, and then the New Year is going to be approaching. Do you have any New Year's resolutions?
I do. A lot of it's contingent upon what happens with the application process. But either way, it's about looking for ways to address and improve staff wellness. Like I said, I'm not someone that's just sitting here speaking from something I read about. I'm speaking from something I lived, and I know how long hours and working far beyond when you thought you were getting off. And I know how all of that impacts staff. I know how all that impacts us as people. So my resolution is to continue to drive forward and try to find ways to help with the staff wellness, and just to kind of continue to build on the great momentum that we have in the department. Colorado is spoken very highly of in the corrections world, and rightfully so, because there's a lot of hardworking staff that come in day in and day out and do what needs to be done. They go above and beyond what needs to be done in many cases, and oftentimes don't get the recognition that we feel we should be getting in this field. So I can tell you, that is my resolution. Whether I'm in the ED position or the DD position, my resolution is to continue to look for ways to improve staff wellness, look for ways to decrease the staffing vacancies, and just look for ways to continue to bring good programs in that's helping everybody and making everything safer. So.
Well, I heard our Office of Human Resources and our Employee Benefit Unit has a wellness team that assists us with to find resources. Can you talk a little bit about that, or maybe Brenda could tell us about that?
To talk about it, but I won't do it justice, so I'm going to kick it over to you.
Okay, you got it.
And let Brenda do it.
Thank you, Mr. Stansel. I'm pleased to speak about our employee wellness team. It's just an exciting time for our department. The team lies under the Office of Human Resources, the Employee Benefits Unit, and they assist our employees in finding resources. It's a 24/7 confidential service that we provide, and resources include, but are not limited to, finding medical and mental health providers, community assistance for financial reasons, food, and utility aid. They serve staff, staff, family members, and retirees. So keep that in mind. It works a lot like our COVID team in that they check their email and inbox and voicemail every single day of the week, including holidays. So it's a great resource if there's any assistance that any employee needs. We have 2 wellness concierges helping our staff with the myriad of needs they may have 7 days a week. We have 5 volunteer chaplains right now that are non-denominational that are serving our staff. And we also have one more thing, our employee support program, which is we've expanded that from 17 fully trained staff members to 60 staff members providing peer assistance across the state. So I'll make sure that DOC everyone email goes out after this chat, and I'll provide the email inbox and the telephone number in which you can reach out to us 24 hours a day.
And just to give everybody a heads up there, Brenda, the email is doc_wellness@state.co.us. Is that correct?
That is correct. And our telephone number is 719-269-4696.
Well, we look forward to getting that email. Thank you so much. This sounds like a good program for the beginning of the year with all these New Year's resolutions. So thank you and your team for working so hard on this. This is a great thing for the department in the coming year. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Stansel, we're going to ask you a couple more questions here about, and you kind of touched on them a little bit, but I'd like to kind of reiterate them a little bit and then let you have an opportunity to do any final thoughts. But if you do become the executive director, what's your plan or vision to improve the overall morale of the department? And how will you personally ensure a positive cultural change in the department?
All right. So I think the first step is listening to the voices. So I'm going to ensure, and it's not hard because the exec team all believe and support this idea, but we're going to listen to the voices. We're going to continue to develop ways for you to utilize your voice. The key to that, though, is you utilizing your voice. A lot of people think that when I was a warden, people used to think, well, the warden knows everything that goes on in the institution, or now in this role, the ED knows everything that goes on in the department. That is not true. And it's probably the furthest away from the truth, because most people don't want the warden or the ED in their position, their business. So a lot of things don't get to us. So one of the ways to ensure that we keep our ears to the ground and we know what's going on is to get out and talk to staff, or have staff communicate. Now, I'll tell you, there's looking at one thing that took me by surprise with this ED position is the ED's calendar, as far as meetings with the gov's office, meetings with the community members, meetings, all these different meetings. So time is precious in this position, but so is staff. They're precious as well. So I'm going to do everything I can to make time. And that's why I dedicated Fridays to getting out in the field and meeting with people. So that's the first step. The second step, I'm going to have to rely on staff to utilize that voice and to build that comfort, to build that trust into talking to the exec team, whether it's me, whether it's any other face that you see on here. Make sure you tell us, and what I have to do is to make sure that there's a culture where you can do that, where you can feel safe talking about, your issues, talking about things, and this kind of leads me to the Grace Alliance. The Grace Alliance Committee is out there, and a lot of people think it was developed because of, the George Floyd incident or because of a specific incident. Well, it wasn't. That was kind of the catalyst that shifted it into overdrive. But those conversations were being held way before then. And because EDI, whether you support it or you don't, EDI is an important part of the culture, no matter where you go. There's always that elephant in the room. And EDI is not just about race. It's not just about gender. It's not just about age. It encompasses all of that. So EDI is going to be something you're going to hear me talk a lot about, whether it's in the interim period or whether it's going down the road. But I think that's an important piece of maintaining and creating and developing, maintaining that culture where people feel safe using their voice. No matter what their voice is, we all have our own opinions. We all have our own ideas based upon how we were raised as kids and what our families believed in. My idea or my belief is no better than your idea or your belief, because your reality is based on what your belief is. My reality is based on mine. But the key to it is understanding and appreciating that everyone has a right to their own opinion, you know, and respectfully, professionally, tactfully, you know, you should be able to voice your opinion. So that's how I plan, or that's how we plan to continue to improve upon the culture that we have right now. But we can't do it alone. We can't do it alone. It's going to take the help of everybody in this department, because it impacts everyone in this department. So I hope I answered that question.
You did. Thank you. With as busy as you are, and you may be more busy than you are you going to stay as active in the Grace Alliance as you have been? Because I know that's a near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, I'm going to try. I'm going to try to commit to as often. I may not make every meeting, or I may not make every committee meeting, but I am going to try to bounce around in those areas, just like I plan to bounce around in facilities. I got to tell you, I miss it. Because and for the shout out to the Grace family that were on those calls with me every single week. I wish there was a way that we could just open that up to everybody to be on that call at the same time, because there's so many courage-seeking conversations that are being held, you know, because a lot of people believe that everybody on that Grace committee all feels and thinks the same way. You know, we all believe in the same philosophy, but we all are still humans, and we all still have our different beliefs. And there's some robust conversations that happen in there in a professional way, but it makes us all grow. And I want to figure out a way to bottle that up and spread that throughout the department, whether we're talking about Grace or whether we're talking about whether case managers feel like they're loved. You are loved. You're part of the team, you're part of the family, and every single member of this family is equally respected. You know, I'm no better than anybody else because there's an interim ED in my title, because I can't do it without any of you guys, and none of us can do it alone. So the more we can bottle it up and get that out to the entire department, the better off I think we all will be.
Well, and since you brought up Grace, if someone has some ideas besides going directly to you, which we definitely can do that, is there someone else that we could go to if we have questions or ideas or anything that might be EDI related or Grace related? Is there who could we go to, or is there a phone number or email address?
Yeah, so you have the Grace Alliance email address, and I'll make sure we put that in the chat box. But Christina is now running, Marquez Ortiz is now running the Grace Alliance as, you know, she's the new EDI liaison for the department. And she's taken the main role of ensuring that the Grace Alliance continue to move forward. But you have Amber Peterson, you have Lenny. Yeah, I mean, I can go on and on. And I don't want to do it because I don't want to miss anybody's name. But yeah, if you Google the Grace Alliance email box, if you want to reach out to anybody personally, feel free to do so. And I'll make sure we get the email out there, the Grace Alliance email out there for everyone.
Thank you so much. I do want to just correct that hotline for the wellness line as well. That is 719-269-4676, and that is our wellness hotline. Just to clarify that for you, and then we can also reach out and get that Grace Alliance phone number or email address as well.
So the Grace Alliance email is DOC_Grace_Alliance@state.co.us. So it's DOC_Grace_Alliance@state.co.us.
Great. I encourage people to reach out if any ideas or questions. Thank you so much. Mr. Stansel, we would love to talk to you the rest of the afternoon, but I know that your time is short, and we appreciate that you and your staff have been on the call with me today. Final thoughts. I just want to wish you and your staff, your team there, and our staff a pleasant holiday season, and Merry Christmas to you guys as well. Mr. Stansel?
So I agree. I don't know if I agree that everybody is willing to listen to me for the rest of the day, but I am willing to sit and talk as much and be as open and transparent as I possibly can, because the more you know, the more you understand. And my goal is to make sure we pass out as much information as we. Now, there's some things, and it's just we're in the government. And there's some things that we have restrictions on what we can put out, or we can't put it out before, X time. But everything that we can share, we will share. And we will find ways of sharing better. When I walk around the facilities and I talk to staff, management and, new staff alike, one of the things that always comes up is communication and the challenges we have in communication. And that's on the top of my list, right up there with staffing shortages, of how we resolve that. The exec team is already, we've had many conversations about it. We will continue to have conversations about it until we get it right. Will it ever be perfect? I don't think anything's perfect, but will we make it the best that we possibly can for those that deserve that in the department? Absolutely. And just in final, I always want to say that, Brenda touched on it. Rebecca touched on it. We are in the holiday season, and the holiday season is a time where, most people are happy. They're spending time with families. But unfortunately, it's not a happy season for everyone. So I want to encourage everyone to take care of one another. If you see someone that's struggling, either personally help them out or let someone else know so we can help them out. Because I see us as a family. We spend at least 8 hours of our day, and in many cases more, with this group. So we are a family, and no different than the expectation is if you see your sister or your brother or your mom or your dad going through challenges, that you're going to step in and try to help them. Let's bring that same thing into the workplace, and together we can make this we can improve and continue to build upon the culture change that everybody wants. So thank you all for tuning in. And like I said, if you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, any ideas, feel free to get them to us. And please use your voice. Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Happy holidays.